Welcome back to Muhammad's Criminal Enterprise, Part 16, Part 2. We had a little technical mishap in the beginning, approximately 7 minutes into our previous attempt, but we have made the necessary corrections. The Wook is back on duty, and we are going to continue. And what I was saying in the brief introduction to Part 16 of Muhammad's Criminal Enterprise is that those who would claim that Islam is a peaceful religion, who would infer that Islam is not a death cult, that would suggest that in Islam it is not mandatory to be a terrorist or a jihadist, and that Islam can coexist with the rest of the world, that they're completely ignorant of what the Quran says. Because the Quran is quite clear in all of the what they call Medina surahs, which are really the Yathrib surahs, those that were revealed during the first 10 years of the Islamic era, where Muhammad inspired and led 75 terrorist raids. Badr, which is the story of his criminal enterprise, was the first of them. A raid where he and his goons. Muhammad never really lifted a sword. He was sitting, in this case, in a palm hut, throwing pebbles at his extended family members who his Muslim goons were killing and kidnapping. But it is quite clear that in every one of these surahs that were revealed during the Islamic era, an era which began with the Pledge of Aqaba, which is where Muslims said, and I quote, "We pledge to wage war against all mankind." That at that point on, Islam is simply a terrorist manifesto. It is a declaration of war against all humanity. It is a death cult at this point. And so it is essential that our audience know this. And, I am had it up to here with ignoramuses pretending that Islam is somehow peaceful, that Islam can coexist, that you can negotiate with Muslims, that the dumpster, or I should say the Trumpster, just recently said, "Oh, I had a Ramadan meal with Muslims, and those Muslims told me that Islam is peaceful and they're loving and they just want to get along with everybody." And he says, "So I learned something about Islam that I didn't know." It is astonishing how easily people are fooled. And on X, where we do live stream this show, their artificial intelligence is absolutely unintelligent, won't learn, won't read, won't think, won't accept correction, and is programmed to cite a Islamic scholar who says that Islam is peaceful and loving. But what they don't recognize is that the Quran tells Muslims to lie, as does the Islamic Hadith, as did Muhammad, and that they are supposed to lie to make non-Muslims easier prey. While the Quran itself, in all of these later surahs, some 20 of them, is a declaration of war. They're all like the 8th surah that I'm quoting from now, and they become exceedingly vicious. And that is the only Islam that exists, because in the first of these Medina surahs, the ones recited during the Islamic era after the Pledge of Aqaba to declare war on all humankind, there is Quran 2:106, which is the abrogation surah, which says anything that came before this that we've decided to contradict, well, it's annulled and it is replaced by whatever we say next. Therefore, anything that was said previously, which, by the way, wasn't peaceful, doesn't pertain anymore. You can quote all of the Kabbaville, which they call Mecca. It wasn't Mecca, it was Petra. But you can quote every one of those surahs. But even if they were to say something peaceful, and they don't, it's been abrogated by the surahs which came after, which are the war surahs of Islam, which is every anti-Semitic, diabolical, terrorist-oriented, sadistic, demented surah revealed in Yathrib, today's Medina. Now, that's simply the truth. Whether you like it or not, I really don't care. But I do care when somebody who should know better can be as easily fooled as the POTUS of the United States. That is revolting. It is revolting when artificial intelligence pretends to be informed and making an intelligent assessment when they're neither. And so one of the reasons that I come down here and do these programs here in our Rainbow Room is so that you might come to understand, you'd have the information necessary to make an intelligent assessment of what Islam actually represents. Because as a death cult, as a command by Allah in the Quran to fight and kill all non-Muslims until the only religion on earth is Islam, is incompatible with liberty and life. Incompatible. You either, according to the Quran, and therefore the essence of Islam, according to its wannabe God, Allah, you either are fighting to kill non-Muslims or you cease to be a Muslim, and they must fight and kill all non-Muslims until the only religion on earth is Islam. Quran 8:59. And let not those who disbelieve think that they can prevail from the punishment. Verily, they will never escape or be able to defend themselves. Now, my air quotes here, as I've shared previously, are where Allah, being illiterate, forgot to include verbs or objects of his sentences. So let, can, and from the punishment were actually omitted and had to be added by the translator to make Allah appear as if he were intelligent. So what does this say? It says, don't let any non-Muslim think that they can prevail, not only from the punishment that Allah intends for them, but the punishment that Muslims are inflicting on them. Raping them, plundering them, killing them, terrorizing them, mutilating them. Doing October 7th kind of stuff to them. Verily, they will never be able to defend themselves or escape. So from the Quranic point of view, Allah's point of view, Muslims must continue to pursue non-Muslims so that they feel the punishment of Islam, recognizing that there is never any escape from the onslaught of this religion. Does that seem acceptable to you? Would you acquiesce to that? Do you want to invite people who believe that this book was inspired by their God to act accordingly? Do you think that anyone on earth has the ability to change Islam based upon this? What are they going to do? Rewrite the Quran? Because this is what the Quran says. Well, hopefully, the Quran, Allah, and Islam, Muhammad, have your undivided attention. If not, then I guess there is no hope for you. But if you're not a Muslim, Allah says that Muslims must torment you. They must punish you. They must continue to pursue you until you either capitulate and become a Muslim and worship this sadistic wannabe God, or they kill you. How's that set with you? Are you okay with that? Progressives obviously are. They're promoting Islam. They are the Islamic pimps. Fortunately, the sane can still prevail by being informed and enthusiastic beginning with our support of Israel, which, of course, Islam's pimps want genocide committed against Israel. They want Israel obliterated. They want every Jew dead. That's what free Palestine means. That is what from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, declares. Now, I would suggest the alternative: to join the creator God of the universe, Yahowah, and support Israel, and to oppose those who would abuse, rape, plunder, torture, terrorize, abduct, and commit acts of mass murder against Jews. Turns out Jews don't like that very much either. Should you be curious and confused in the matter, you may want to check out Gaza and to see how Jews respond when you invade their homes, commit acts of mass murder, rape, torture, mutilation, and abduction. My recommendation would be for a remnant of God's people to come to know and respect Yahowah, accept the conditions of his Bereth covenant, and attend the Mikre, which are the invitations to be called out and meet with God. By doing so, Allah's militants will be incapacitated, well, as they are against me. Now, I have an advantage in that Yahowah specifically asked me to do this for his people, and therefore the deal that he cut with me for my willingness to expose myself in this way, to not only write Prophet of Doom and Tea with Terrorists about my meeting with Al-Qaeda and my being the first to present the Quran in chronological order and to set it into the context of Muhammad's life using the four most credible hadith resources, and then expand that one volume recently after 10/7 in Israel to the 5 825-page each volumes, 4,200 pages of documented evidence from the Islamic scriptures in goddamn religion to prove every point that I'm making 1,000 times over. As for the rest of humanity, well, this will be your fate if you're not willing to listen. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we've had another issue. The screen that I am using to do this show has shrunk and has skipped. And when it comes to the Islamic scriptures, I am not willing to cite them from memory. I'm going to read them, and we just had a major hiccup. So we're going to shut this show down. We're going to see if we can reset the computer that provides me with my own and other translations of the Quran, and we will continue from here with Muhammad's Criminal Enterprise, Part 16C.